Ghana may face a power crisis soon if the government fails to pay a debt owed to the West African Gas Pipeline Company, WAPCO. Minister of Energy, Dr. Gyakye Quayson Trial, explained that electricity production has been hampered because WAPCO has restricted gas transportation from the Western region. It will be recalled that the gas supply was recently cut off due to debt owed to the West African Gas Pipeline Company, leaving several regions of the country in total darkness. The situation was reversed after Ghana and WAPCO reached an agreement on how the arrears will be paid.
Energy Minister Dr. Gyakye Quayson Trial has now revealed that the situation of the recent power cuts is as a result of over-reliance on gas-only-powered thermal plants, unlike previously, that the generation was supported by liquid fuel. Dr. Quayson Trial therefore emphasized that the availability of power in the country will now be determined by the timeliness in the payment for gas supply by the West African Gas Company.
We don't have enough gas for our generation as we speak. We don't have enough gas. Because we are so much dependent upon somebody providing you the gas, and the gas wants you to pay, we are the beck and call of the West Africa Gas Pipeline. If you don't give them their money on time, they cut you, or they restrict your ability to even put your own gas through the system. So as we speak, this is a major challenge for us, that from the West we have gas there we cannot put in because West Africa Gas Power System Pipeline Company is not allowing us, it's restricting us. And that's why sometimes we find that there are challenges with power networks.
Dr. Quayson Trial, however, indicated that in the midst of all these challenges, the MPP government has been able to manage the situation.
It is now ensued Accra. Somebody engaged me 2 weeks ago because the power was out for 45 minutes in the person's house. As soon as it was out, the person called, "Hey, Napodum Kania." But this was the person who lost out of her business because under some previous government, for 4 years, he couldn't get electricity to do that. He couldn't pay for fuel for generation. Sometimes you wish that we could leave that period for 1 month and come into this period, and so that people won't talk again. But I cannot wish that for Ghanaians. We want the lights to be on when you want it. When you switch prayer, it comes. When you switch off, it goes. But we want people to be more considerate in using energy efficient devices so that we don't waste power. But when you look at the...
Meanwhile, speaking on the recent fuel hike that has caused several agitations across the country, Dr. Quayson Trial added that the introduction of the Gold for Oil initiative has contributed to stabilizing fuel prices, leading to a suspension of these agitations by Ghanaians.
In the history of this country, petrol is only at the for this government is when petroleum prices hit 22 cedis plus and has come down to as low as 13 cedis and below. It's never happened. Thanks to the good work MPA is doing, because whereas in the last 2 years, 3 years, even European countries short petrol and there were queues and prices went all over the place, we in Ghana didn't suffer that. And even when we started suffering it, we could introduce policy, and that is the purpose of a government, to introduce policy that benefits everybody, for everybody and not the few. So the work of MPA has a direct bearing on trotro price, haulage trucks, STC, aeroplane, and fisher folk. So we moved from 22.7 Ghana cedis per litre to low as almost half. 13 cedis around this time. Sometimes people forget that when it got to that stage, people were even planning demonstrations to the Ministry of Energy. But now that it has halved, people are enjoying it forgetfully. That is the work of some people that has allowed us to do what we are doing.
Meanwhile, a member of the Energy and Mines Committee of Parliament, Edward Bauer, said there is a deep-seated challenge beyond the inadequate gas supply.
That is just a small amount of the components that is needed to be able to make sure that our lights are on. As we speak now, in terms of total indebtedness for power that we have consumed, we are inching around almost 15 billion Ghana cedis that we have not paid. WAPCO is just the one that just takes the gas and brings. Even with that, when we were asked to just do a minimum payment of 8.31, we could not do. That's the first point. The second part that we should even be more worried is the fact that from the beginning of the year up to today, as we speak, Our dependable capacity now is 3,407. Meanwhile, 3,407. Meanwhile, at peak, we are consuming in the neighborhood of 3,561. As at Wednesday, 8:55, we did not have enough power to give to Ghanaians. So when you see that there are sections of the country going off between 6 and 10, it's because as we speak now, from the beginning of the year up till now, that we have a power generation deficit, not only because of gas, but just simply that we do not have enough power. And so the minister must be candid and should not create the impression that seems to suggest that, oh, it is when there's rain and then somebody's power trips, then for about 10 minutes, 15 minutes, they start calling him. We have a problem. We had warned on this, but because they had moved on the tangent of excess capacity, they refused to put in contingency measures to ensure that we begin to start seeing how we can up our generation capacity. And as I speak, our growth rate in terms of power consumption is so high. We are doing around 12% annually, and we do not have a corresponding addition in terms of that. That is why for about 11 months now, we have had deficit in terms of generation. So when you see your lights off in your area, it is not a localized one. It is just that because of the lack of transparency of this government, they will not allow GRIDCO to publish a load shedding plan for Ghana. Because the moment they do that, then their rhetoric, like what the minister is saying, cannot hold. So they will bully GRIDCO not to do that. But currently we have a huge problem.
There was some good news to kidney patient in Korle Bu. Health Minister Gyakye Quayson Trial has informed Parliament that Finance Minister Ken Ofori-Atta has approved a payment of 4 million cedis to the Korle Bu Teaching Hospital to settle a debt owed to 8 consumable supplies. The outpatient department of the renal unit was closed for months, with 19 renal patients dying during the period. The hospital refused to comply with an order to open the unit for almost a week due to the debt. According to Gyakye Quayson Trial, the debt is set to be settled to allow the hospital operate without a challenge. Gyakye Asante reports from Parliament.
Health Minister Gyakye Quayson Trial also informed MPs government is backing Korle Bu Teaching Hospital to renegotiate its contract with a South African consumable supplier, which has monopoly for the supply of the consumables.
The Korle Bu Teaching Hospital, in consultation with the Minister of Health, has initiated discussions with FMC for review of the current contract for more flexible payment options and a more structured supply of consumables to avoid excessive delays and to ensure delivery of the outstanding 45 dialysis machines and auxiliary equipment to boost the service being rendered. So, Speaker, in the meantime, the RDU has been opened to the public since Monday, 6 November 2023, to add patients as directed by the ministry. The MOH has since made a request to the Minister of Finance to settle the total indebtedness of the 4 million Ghana cedis. And the good news now is that the Minister for Finance has just approved the disbursement of this 4 million to support our patients in Korle Bu.
Well, NDC MPs were not excited about government's handling of the whole situation.
The problem at Korle Bu Teaching Hospital, I see it as leadership failure. I see it as government not being responsible for the health of the people of this country.
MP for Asawase Muntaka Mubarak does not believe Korle Bu has justified its proposed hike of the price for dialysis treatment.
If you take, for example, the fees and charges that we gave, 380, yes, over the period, there may be some challenges, exchange rate difficulties, but Confanoche is operating with the same 380, and they've not closed the unit. Yes, I will agree, Confanoche has, I think, about 10 machines, but largely you go and you have between 2 to 8 that are working at a time. But Confanoche is operating with that. If you go to Brekum, where you have the Catholic Hospital, even though this house gave a fees and charges of 380, Mr. Speaker, they are charging 350. They are charging 350 and they are able to operate. Now you come to Korle Bu, where it is the state that is paying for the specialist, the state that is having the the infrastructure and all the nurses and all of that. They are making us believe that the only way Korle Bu unit can operate is to charge up to about 900. Mr. Speaker, I'm happy the minister himself acknowledged that contract with FMC needs to, they are looking at it. That is where the problem of Korle Bu starts.
There is now calls from within government for the finance minister to stop capping funds belonging to the NHIS.
The kidney failure, the liver failures, even some diseases, every country controls its own destiny, so to speak. So let's have a national conversation, look at the funding of health insurance, and the finance minister has no business capping the NHIS because it's unconscionable.
Renal patients, some of whom were in parliament, reacted to the minister's address.
We thank God that the 4 billion will be released by the Minister of Finance to pay that debt Korle Bu was owing. That created a lot of problem for us that the unit was closed down on May 22nd this year.
I didn't hear or see any, policy direction talking about tax waivers or what government or authorities are doing to make sure we have a lot of the machines in the system.
At least 19 persons died within the period that the Korle Bu Teaching Hospital closed the OPD of its renal unit. Now that has been opened and government is paying the 4 million Ghana cedis that it owed the suppliers of consumables to the facility. The renal patients are asking government to do all it can to end the debts. They are also asking government to consider putting treatment for kidney diseases on the National Health Insurance Scheme. And as you've heard, it has come up strongly on the floor with MPs asking the finance minister to stop the capping of the NHIS funds to allow NHIS get enough money to be able to move in and assist these patients. Reporting for JoyNews, Gyakye Asante, Parliament House, Accra.
Still on dialysis crisis, many outpatients with kidney problems seeking to undergo dialysis at the Kumasi Teaching Hospital are compelled to queue for several hours due to inadequate dialysis machines at the hospital. The renal department of the hospital has in the past years operated with only 2 machines to serve the hundreds of outpatients and admitted cases. Speaking on Love FM, nephrologist at the hospital, Dr. Elliot Granting Tano, said the situation is constricting quality delivery of medical care to outpatients with acute kidney problems.
That scenario you painted is an hourly scenario, it's a daily scenario, it's a weekly, we see it all the time. And it's all because even the people who are on admission, we have situations where you have more than 2 people needing, acutely, we call it dialysis, and they will not be able to. Sometimes you find me calling the nurses and negotiating, oh, I beg, as for this patient, try and manage some 1 hour craft for the patient, to be able to, because if we don't do it today, I cannot guarantee this patient will be alive tomorrow. So it is really difficult, and I think that is the situation which calls for, again, a national conversation for us to see how best we can get solutions to it. That scenario is a daily scenario. It's virtually what happens every day, and that makes us sometimes very uncomfortable. And again, that is why the moment the patient has been discharged from the hospital, then they may have to find a peripheral facility to attend, or else then they will have to come and keep queuing and keep waiting, and sometimes they cannot be sure, because if you come from outside and of course there's an ICU patient or there's a patient who needs it more than you, as doctors we are supposed to try and put the person who needs it more than you ahead of you, so you end up waiting virtually the whole day, and then that is why probably would you be advised to try and find some facility elsewhere to attend.
Away from that, Parliament, Lands and Forestry Committee, as well as Mines and Energy Committee, is set to look into the salt mining contract awarded to the Electrochem Ghana Limited and advise the House on the possibility of allowing locals to mine alongside the company. A shooting incident in the Sege in the Greater Accra region has left 1 person dead and several others injured. The incident is reportedly rooted in a feud between Electrochem Ghana Limited and residents of Adan. MP for Sege, Christian Kolete Otute, who delivered a statement on the floor about the incident, asked Parliament to investigate the disturbance and push to allow the indigents of Ada to benefit from the natural resource in their land.
It is extremely alarming that these hardworking individuals who are simply trying to make a living have become targets of violence. Mr. Speaker, the reports I received indicated that the residents were in their designated salt mining sites, a long-held sources of livelihood since 1960s. And all of a sudden, a team of young men from Electrochem Company and a police patrol team appear at the scene and try to seize their working tools, which resulted in firing of gun shots, killing one of them. The salt winners play vital roles in our local economy and should not have to live in fear while carrying out their work. Mr. Speaker, I further call upon the House to refer this unfortunate incident to the Defense and Interior Committee to probe these endless brutalities and make its finding known to the House. It is essential that we create an environment where every citizen can feel safe and secure.
A member of Parliament for Ada Comfort, Doyo Kujo, whose constituents are also affected by the consistent violence, made a passionate appeal to the owner of Electrochem, Daniel Macaulay, popularly known as McDan, to allow indigents to mine the salt alongside his company.
He has been allocated a place, allocated from Lagoon to work there. Mr. Speaker, we can say we don't want investors, but my view is when you go to Ashanti Region and there is land for gold, we also have that sort as white gold. And in the Ashanti region, they didn't give the whole allocation to Ashanti gold. There was space for the other people to do galamsey there. Mr. Speaker, Somo Lagoon, even our galamsey does not pollute water. They should give a space for some of the indigents so that they can also work to bring peace. And then can also work. The indigenous too should work.
Now, First Deputy Speaker of Parliament, Joseph Owusu, directed two committees of the House to look into the salt mining contract awarded to Electrochem and whether it will be viable to renegotiate it and allow locals to also mine. He also ordered Interior Minister Ambrose Derry to brief the House on the violence that claimed to the life of one person.
And I think the more critical issue is what is being raised by the honourable member for Ada. The natural resource is supposed to be for the state. But here are indigents living by this natural resource, feeding on it. Yes, it belongs to the state, but the state says I'm giving it to somebody else without regards to these other indigents. That's why I've been looking at the Constitution, how we can look at. I'll direct the Minister for Interior to brief the House about the incident, how violence came to be perpetrated in that, who shot into the crowd, whether the police or the security of the private company. The Minister of Interior should brief the House on that one. After that brief, if there's a need for the Committee of Defense and Interior to look further, we will give the appropriate directions. But I suggest that, I don't know whether it lands and natural resource and mines and energy, to look at the whole leasehold agreement again and investigate and advise the House whether it is practicable to renegotiate and leave out some portion for the indigents, and whether, if that is done, whether that will affect the viability of the business or not. If not, advice.
Now to other stories. Lawyers for Asante North MP James Gyakye Quayson have raised concerns about the perceived unfairness and arbitrary conduct of the High Court judge overseeing his criminal trial. The MP, Gyakye Quayson, is currently facing charges of alleged perjury and forgery. Despite the MP's absence due to a critical health emergency that necessitated his travel to Canada, his lawyers argue that the High Court judge has been unjust in ordering the continuation of the trial. They contend that the court's insistence on proceeding with the case, despite the MP's unavailability, is in disregard of the challenges posed by his health condition. But the court says the Assin North legislator was offered all avenues to participate in the court proceedings virtually. Richard Kwajonyaku of our Legal Affairs Desk was in court and has more in this report.
In a long winding rope today in court, Gyakye Quayson, the Assin North Member of Parliament, was expected to be in court, but his lawyers indicated that he was undergoing some medical examination and has been flown out of the country to Canada, and so that is where he is receiving some treatment. But the court said that no reasonable excuse has been proffered. In fact, they also provided a link for Mr. Quayson to join virtually, but Mr. Quayson refused to join today's proceedings. Lawyer for Gyakye Quayson Trial indicated that the judge was exhibiting symptoms of arbitrariness. The judge has been unfair, but the judge indicated that they have given all avenues for the proceedings to go on, and thus ordered Mr. Gyakye to go ahead to cross-examine the prosecution witness.
Today is a very sad day for us as Ghanaians and of course the legal system of Ghana. You have a judge insisting, despite clear evidence of medical report showing that the person is undergoing a test, medical test, and then the judge insists that despite that, I would disregard that and insist that you go ahead with the case without him. Even though we went ahead because we didn't want to disrespect the court, but the unfairness to insist on such an important case. We are doing cross-examination, and you said that you accept the process today, go ahead. And that is the side of it, especially when there's evidence of medical condition. We don't necessarily say that the person, maybe he's sick on a wheelchair before you say he's sick. All of us walking here, do we know what is with us here? But what we want to place on record is that the cause had been unfair today. We have not been dealt with and given the right to exercise our legal rights as it's supposed to be. Because today you even saw that arrangement has been made for the accused person to be in court. How can you serve? The question is, by the legal practice, how can you serve a process on somebody today in the courtroom and say, insist that you must go on?
Deputy Attorney General Alfred Chayabwa, who led the state prosecutors, indicated that they are in for whatever the court will say. In fact, they say that it is some kind of delay tactics that lawyers for Mr. Gyakye Quayson are playing. They indicated that the prosecution witness has been in the dock for more than a year.
They knew about the hearing, and that's the reason why they're even in court today. You also encouraged said that the last time that we came and we met the judge in chambers, they said he was undergoing a medical test. It's different from saying that he was undergoing a medical, something relating to his health. Medical test. We agreed. We took an adjournment. We've been in court today, and what's the story? That he's now, I'll not say seriously, but he's sick. But we are not told. There's no evidence to that effect. The court then said we have to go on with the matter because our witness had been in the box since July 2022. 1 year, 5 months, or 4 months. One witness in the witness box for 1 year, 4 months. And we think that we should still countenance such a practice. No. If they won't take it up on appeal, as we said, maybe they think that we are ready for them. As I said, we come to court to speak and talk law and nothing else. If they take any legal point, we'll be ready to confront them head on.
The case has been adjourned to the 15th of November. Reporting from the court complex, my name is Richard Kwajonyaku for Joy News.
And here in the studio, I am Samuel Kojo Brace. This is still the JoyNews Prime. So to come here, conditions worsening for users and businesses around the store of Biche-Belamte interchange in Accra with traders within the Aboso, Kaneshi and Graphic Road enclave saying the situation is impacting their health and businesses. Also, 5 drowned in the Afram River in the Eastern Region. Who will bring you details. All of this after the break. Welcome back from the break. Now, the Asante Otunfo said to the second has lauded multimedia journalist Erastus Asare-Donkor for his consistency in the fight against illegal mining. Acknowledging the threat the journalist endured in exposing characters behind the Galamsey menace, the Asante commended Erastus for his power of determination, hard work, and perseverance. He made the commendation when a team from the Kumasi unit of the Multimedia Group Limited presented laurels won by Erastus at the 27th Awards of the Ghana Journalists Association. Clinton Yeboah has more in the following report.
In a night filled with anticipation and excitement, the Ghana Journalists Association took center stage as Multimedia's Erastus Asare-Donkor received the coveted PAV and Journalist of the Year award, as well as the Illegal Mining Reporter of the Year. Erastus has over the years committed to uncovering the ills of illegal mining to arable lands, forests, water bodies and the health of the populace. When he visited the Mensha Palace, the Asante Hene expressed his satisfaction with the role Erastus' reporting activities have played in the fight against illegal mining.
If not for God's protection, Erastus would have been harmed. He has uncovered and announced all the illegalities, but to no avail. Yet, he has been recognized by all journalists in the country. It is only inspirational when accolades like this are earned. At least we are hopeful some people cherish the truth. Thank you. Continue, and I entreat your colleagues to learn and emulate. It is only the truth that matters. Stick to the facts. I am aware you receive threats to keep quiet. It only means you are doing the right thing.
An elated Erastus Asare-Donkor acknowledged Otunfo's commendation as motivation. He admonished his fellow journalists and corporate institutions to join the fight against illegal mining.
In fact, some countries are protecting their water bodies, their forests and other things because they believe that that is their mainstay. It borders on their very existence. And so for us to be destroying the rate at which we are destroying our land, our forests and other things, is something that motivates me to do my part. In fact, if the occupant of the golden stool congratulates you and encourages you, that's the ultimate. And so I'm indeed honored to be in his presence. I must say that the people who go with me on a daily basis, this gentleman risks his lives every day with me on the field. We don't do it for nothing. He also has a family and he has the same vision as I do. And together, I think if all journalists were to come on board and to see illegal mining, irresponsible mining as an existential threat, definitely, if we put our voices together, we'll be able to sustain and maintain this fight.
Reporting for JoyNews, Clinton Yeboah.
Now, Deputy Minister of Lands and Natural Resources in charge of mining, George Mrekuduka, has called for the formation of river guards to permanently patrol water resources in mining areas to turn the tide on pollution of rivers by illegal miners. He also urged other players like the Water Resource Commission and other players in the sector to work closely together in stamping out the menace. In an interview with my colleague Latif Idrisu, the Deputy Minister argued that local chiefs must also put their shoulders to the wheel if the state is to win the so-called war.
Something that people are doing in communities. And until the communities come together and say, collectively, we have a responsibility of addressing this canker, we'll never be able to overcome it. Government will come, government will go, and this menace, the struggle will still be there. We need to depoliticize it. That is one.
Has it been politicized?
Yes, because if Mrekuduka says it, you wouldn't understand. And Yesterday I was telling somebody, maybe one day when I'm not occupying that position and this position, and I said Ghanaians will understand. Who is responsible for illegalities in Ghana? Is it the Ministry of Lands and Natural Resources? You're talking of Galamsey. Is it legal or illegal? It is illegal. Who is responsible for illegalities in the country? Has Merekuduka been trained? Is he having that, requisite muscle to hold a gun and arrest? Is it my responsibility? If you go to South Africa, Minister Mantashe, who is responsible for mining, he rather complains to the security apparatus to up their game in getting recalcitrant arrested. The Mantashe is not blamed for illegalities in the country. Why do you blame Merekuduka for illegalities in the country, or Abu Jinapor for illegalities in the country? Are they responsible for that? We need to understand what we are tackling before we. Otherwise, if you continue, those who have been mandated to kind of oversee the activities of Galamsey, they are the ones involved. Galamsey is not done in a room; it's done openly. So if somebody is doing it, go to the concession and say, this is concession, we've gotten the machines bent, we've arrested all those people there. The security agencies must be able to do that. For example, I don't understand why we should have permanent people protecting our forest reserves. Like forest guards who are patrolling 24/7. But for their intervention, I believe the devastation would have been dire. Why can't we have river guards also protecting the river bodies 24/7? When we have an institution, the Water Resource Commission is there. We have the ministry also responsible for water and sanitation. And we are not asking questions. And you tend to see Merekuduka and you think Merekuduka should do it.
Now, conditions on the stored Obiche-Bilamte interchange project site in Accra is worsening for users and those doing business within the Abosokain, Kaneshi and the Graphic Road enclave. Gaping potholes, dust during dry conditions, stagnant waters and mud during wet conditions are making life unbearable for road users and traders. My colleague Kwesi Kwating Adai returns to the project site 4 months after our last visit and finds that conditions are deteriorating. Here is his report.
Obiche-Bilamte interchange is the main access road to the central business district of Accra. It is also the access road to the famous Abosokain spare parts market, as well as Ghana's premier and biggest health facility, the Kolebu Teaching Hospital. President Akufo-Addo cut sword for the construction of the $135 million project in October 2019 to help ease traffic and reduce commuting time to the hospital and other parts of the city. But the poor state of the road is negating this objective. The halting of the project is believed to be in relation to Ghana's IMF program. Since the situation has been worsening, potholes here have become bigger, making it almost impossible for drivers to maneuver the roads under the interchange. This results in huge traffic jam around the area. The situation has been worsened by muddy conditions and stagnant waters collected in these gaping potholes. Road users say this is affecting travel and business. Drivers say they are forced to incur huge maintenance costs due to the damage caused to their vehicles.
I'm just coming from the market to get some spare parts. And then, you work, you get money and use it to buy spare parts all the time. And it's right in the boots. Oh, drivers complain a lot. And then sometimes too, the passengers too, they used to complain because as the car is shaking up and down like that, some are complaining their ways. Ghana is old, like 60 years and above, and we are still constructing roads. I don't get it.
The situation is even worse for those who trade within the enclave. Both wet and dry conditions have some impact on them.
Because they haven't finished the road, a lot of traffic. When you go to the central box, a lot of traffic. Most of the times, it got an accident. You understand? a lot of traffic, and people cannot get car instantly because the road are not completed. The business will move very slowly because, example, someone want to come in and come and buy some parts. He have to park the car outside, walk distance before coming. Maybe the time that the person will come, people are just closing, and it will affect me. It will affect the person too as well. Secondly, the dusting. Very lucky for us that today it have rained. You can see from here. You can see from here it have rained today, so it will save us. But if it dries, we can't pass here unless you put on the nose mask. As soon as you put on the nose mask, your eyes definitely it will go there. Those are selling the food. The dust will just go there because of our health. That's why you want to eat good, very good food so that you get energy or strength to work. But whereby there's a dust there, the dust will just entering the food.
The nature of the road is not very good to us. It does not help us in any way, especially those trading around the area. Full of dust, and the road itself is not very good. So we don't feel comfortable here. So we are pleading to the government through this media that they can accelerate the work so we can also get some relief in the course of time.
The dilapidated roads at the interchange has become very treacherous to navigate, posing risks to drivers and passengers. The users are calling on government to, as a stopgap measure, grade and regularly water the road as they await the final completion. Kwesi Adai Kwarton's report for Joy News.